there's war being waged in America at the moment, and you know, it's a new sort of terror. This time it's a war on women's bodies. It's once again, like every time there's an American election, it seems to be the issue that keeps coming up is abortion. Over and over they bring up abortion. Pro-lifers go nuts every time. The Republican Party sort of seems to use that as one of their main kind of ways of, you know, garnering sort of status or position. This kind of moral right-wing upper-handedness about people like me, like women. I find it really weird. Like recently, I think there was a sort of, you know, Republican senator. He's a candidate for the Senate. His name is, you know, I think it's Richard Murdoch, which is funny because it comes out Dick Murdoch, and he really did make a dick of himself because in a debate he revealed his point of view was that, you know, whereas, you know, Mitt Romney is saying that, you know, of course he doesn't support abortion, but he could understand in the case of rape or incest or danger to the mother's health, then maybe then. And this other Republican candidate basically comes out and says, no, even though rape is terrible, it was obviously what God intended. So you can imagine what people think. What kind of God is that? I wouldn't have a God like that, a God that intends rape. Does God also intend incest as well? It's, I don't know, I just find it incredibly offensive to find these middle-aged men in another country, but it doesn't matter because it always reflects back here to Australia. But they're sort of like gaining points and sort of trying to get the moral upper hand by talking about women's wombs and our right to do what our bodies, basically. Now, abortion, unless you don't know this, has been legal in all American states since 1973. That's nearly 30 years where it's been legal, but it's still a moral issue. Mainly because these days it's become harder and harder to even have an abortion in America because the pro-lifers, being so into life, shoot doctors that perform abortions. So, of course, women that are desperate end up going to some sort of backyard sort of situation. But I just find that just so, I don't know, it just seems incredibly weird. I mean, no one's comfortable, you know, with the whole concept of, you know, I don't think it's sort of almost, you know, there's like this inference that people who are pro-abortion go around doing it for fun, that we do it because we're bored, that we go, oh, it doesn't matter. When I finish packing the dishwasher, I might go and have an abortion. It takes away from the fact that these are really serious choices that a woman might have to make in her life sometime. You know, we're responsible for this choice. We grow the fetus into the child. The man could be responsible for putting his penis in his pants or putting a condom on his penis. I don't hear them advocating for mandatory vasectomies. I mean, I just find it, you know, look, it really does. It gets me going, you know, I have to say, because it's just looking at those men talking about it. I mean, they've never had abortions. They've never been put in that situation where they've had to make that choice. They haven't had, you know, financial situations that occur, like a wrong time in their life because they might be, you know, sort of not well, not have enough work. They might have too many children. They might be drug affected. Who knows what goes on, living in violence. No, they're just trying to win an election with this stupid thing. And it is a weird thing, like it's really hard to talk about abortion, like even saying abortion, it sounds like a saucepan, doesn't it, sort of hitting the ground. It's like, oh, don't say abortion. It's a bit of a conversation stopper. But, you know, you can imagine, because it's not normal. Like, no one puts on their Facebook status, like I don't have, you know, Mandy Nolan, 44, 7 pregnancies, you know, 4 births, 3 terminations. Go girl. I mean, nobody puts it up there and kind of normalises it. It's this little dark secret that a lot of women out there carry. We don't talk about it because there's a sense of shame and sadness, which, you know, and feeling that we'll be judged because someone will somehow think you've made that decision like it was going to a birthday party or something. I did. You know, every decision I made, and I think there were 3, you know, it's always sad about it. It's a very sad thing. You know, it's a sad thing that you do that and you think, well, I think I made the right decision. You know, but it's not something that you sort of wear a t-shirt about. But interestingly, I had this thing happen once. It was really weird. It was years ago. And I was performing at a wedding. for someone, and as a comedian. And this lovely bearded man smiles at me. He's the best man, and he's like, he knows me, and I'm thinking, he looks really familiar, but I don't think I know him. You know, and I pretend to know people when I don't. So I went, yeah, hi, how are you doing? Anyway, later in the wedding, he makes himself known to me, and he sort of has to reveal that he'd performed my last abortion. It was a bit embarrassing. Like, it's really hard to go on with the chit chat. Oh, yeah, no, good, thanks. How are you? How's work? Oh, I mean, and suddenly I felt sorry for him because I realised he was a man that could never reveal his profession. Quite possibly, whilst he'd probably seen every woman out in that room at some point, because I noticed a lot of them seemed to know him, that he couldn't actually bring it up, you know. Anyway, so in the end, I had a strange conversation. I thanked him, wished him luck, and said, oh, hope you don't get shot. So, in the end, as this stupid American election draws to a close, I just hope people are aware of those issues, and that you realise that, you know, at a time, you know, when you have those considerations, when perhaps there is a pregnancy where there is a question mark, and early in it, you may get, as a woman, we get to choose be God over our own bodies for a sense, and that's our right. So I would ask that those particular right-wing, narrow-minded Nazi men stop trying to play God over us, and that perhaps they consider playing God over their own cocks.